everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to talk about some of my recent reads. So these are books that I have not yet talked about on the channel in the month of that I've read in the month of February. And so there's Libby trying to get into the shot as per usual. So let's just get into it because I have a few books here to talk about. So the first book that I completed in the month of February is Silver Sparrow by Tayari Jones. This is a book I picked up. I had it on my TBR for quite a while, and it fit in because it's Black History Month and I wanted to read books by Black authors this month. So Tayari Jones is most famously known for her book American Marriage, which I read and did not really love. I mean, I thought it was okay, but there were things about it that I didn't enjoy. This book, on the other hand, I really loved. I sat down and read this all in one day. I thought that the narrative was very gripping and just was one of those things that made me really want to continue reading. Libby, stop. Sorry about that. So this tells the story of two sisters who, one of which knows about the other one, and the other one's in complete darkness because... Why did I want a cat again? Somebody remind me. Okay, let's just start over here. This book is the story of two sisters who don't know about each other in the beginning because their father is a bigamist. So he has two families, and this is their story. So the first half of this book, I've got my bookmark still in here. I don't remember the names of the girls. So the first part of the book is told from the perspective of Dana, and this is the daughter that knows that her father has two families, and she's not allowed to like contact or talk to or like acknowledge that she has a sister in her father's other marriage. And then the second sister is what is her name? Bunny Charisse is the name of the other daughter. And she is an ignorant. She has no idea what's going on. So the first half of this book is told from Dana's perspective, and the second half of the book is told from the other girl's perspective. And so that, I really enjoyed the first half of the book, but then having the perspective switch halfway through was really great as well, because then you get the story told from the other side, from the person who, you know, doesn't know all the nuance to the story. So yeah, it was really great. It was very engrossing, and kept me glued to my seat until I had this one finished. So I really enjoyed that one. Then I completed Three Men in a Boat, To Say Nothing of the Dog by Jerome. This is a British humor classic. This was a book off my ancient TBR that I'm trying to read 6 of in each month, or at least try them and decide if I want to keep them. And so this book is the story of these 3 young gentlemen who decide to row up the Thames, and they're on this trip and they're alternately rowing and sort of like pulling their boat up the river. And it's just told in a series of vignettes. They're humorous. It is mildly entertaining. I did not love this. I thought it was, you know, a good book to read if you wake up in the middle of the night and you need to have something relaxing to read. But other than that, it wasn't anything gripping. It wasn't anything particularly memorable. So just okay for me on that one. I then finished my huge chunker of a nonfiction that I was buddy reading with Patrice. This is The Evangelicals, The Struggle to Shape America by FitzGerald. This book has been on multiple prize lists and, you know, sort of been in the public eye as a really good piece of nonfiction. I got interested in it after hearing Doris talk about it on her channel, Aldi Books. So Patrice and I decided that we would tackle this beast starting in 2021. So we started at the beginning of January. And I thought this book was very interesting. It really taught me a lot about the history of religion in the United States, and particularly the group of religions that we sort of talk about collectively as evangelical religions, which it actually makes up several denominations. And the problems that I had with this book were that it's overly detailed, it gets quite dry in places, and I think the author suffers from a problem that some nonfiction authors suffer from, and that is they do all this research and they discover all this information about a topic, and then they just can't help themselves. They have to include every single bit of it in the book, and then you end up with this, size of a book. And not all of that information did I think was particularly relevant nor needed to tell the story that she was trying to tell. And what she is really getting at here with this book is the influence that religion has had in the United States on our political and cultural systems, and particularly the evangelicals, who are quite conservative in their social outlooks and their social values, and how that has shaped particularly modern American politics. The so-called identity politics type values of abortion, gay marriage, transgender rights, all those sorts of things, how the evangelical religions have had a hand in how the United States has dealt with some of those concerns. And obviously, of course, civil rights as well. Another issue that I have with this book is it's very much told from the white perspective. Very few bits of information or people that are discussed in here are minorities at all. There's a few instances where some black evangelicals are discussed, but nothing particular. And I would have liked to have known more about how the black evangelical segment of this religion, or this group of religions, felt about some of these issues. And it certainly doesn't go into a lot about, other than, the conservative right trying to sort of bring in some of the minorities into their political tent. It really doesn't discuss the feelings and the and sort of how black or other minority evangelicals reacted to some of the paths this particular group of religions chose to take. So I think that's a failing of this book for sure, and kind of made me frustrated in a few places. So I learned a lot. I would not think that this is a book for everyone. If you particularly like detailed nonfiction, you might pick this up if you're particularly interested in the topic. Patrice also pointed out, and she's absolutely right, there's a lot of editorial errors in this book, like just typos, grammatical, capitalization, punctuation type errors, and you would not expect a book of this sort of stature to have those kind of issues, which is kind of irritating. So good book, but not great is how I would classify that one. I then finished another book for the BookTube Prize, so I'm not going to talk about it other than to say I finished Just Us by Claudia Rankine, and I won't go into this one right now, but I will talk about this more when I talk about my BookTube Prize reading at the end of March. One other book that I finished so far in the month of February and have not yet talked about anywhere else is a romance collection of short stories called The Bridgertons Happily Ever After by Julia Quinn. And this is a collection of second epilogues that she wrote for the original 8 Bridgerton series books. So I completed book 8 of the Bridgerton series, and then I went back and I read all of the second epilogues for each of the 8 books, and they were just delightful. It was just so delightful to revisit all of the characters, to see what they are up to, like many years later, to see where they all ended up. And I will say the very last epilogue was about Violet, the mom of the whole family, and it sort of tells her backstory and how she got to the place where she had 8 children, and then basically encompasses her entire life. So that was a really delightful way to wrap it up. And to wrap up my Bridgerton rereads, I had not read the second epilogues previous to this, so that was all new stuff for me, which was really fun as well. And it was great on audiobook. I would highly recommend it in that format. If you've gotten into the Bridgertons and you've read all 8 books and you're aching for something more to read about Bridgertons, definitely read Happily Ever After to get those second epilogues. Anyway, that is it. That is what I've read so far in the month of February. I hope you've all found some good books to read, and I will talk to you later.